Have you ever wondered why so many people choose to remain sheep in a world that rewards the wolf? It's a question that should make you uncomfortable, because comfort is the domain of the herd. Comfort is the pasture, the safe enclosure, the place where nothing grows except complacency. If you've ever felt that sting, that realization that you've been grazing while others were hunting, then listen carefully. Today is not about polite advice. It is about tearing off the fleece you've wrapped yourself in, exposing the raw mind beneath, and learning to see the world with predator's eyes. Why do so many remain sheep? Because it is easier. Because obedience feels safer than responsibility. Because asking hard questions forces you to confront truths you'd rather avoid. Machiavelli understood this in his bones. He didn't write to soothe consciences. He wrote to confront them. He described the world as it was, not as it should be, because he believed only by seeing it clearly could you ever hope to master it. The man who lies to himself about human nature is doomed to be ruled by those who do not. Consider what he said. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. This is the tragedy of the herd. They judge what is visible, appearance, promise, posture, and they accept it as truth. They do not test, they do not feel for substance. They take the world as it is presented to them, rather than as it truly is. And in doing so, they hand power to those cunning enough to control the image. History overflows with examples. Think of the politicians who promise salvation with absolute certainty while hiding the complexity they know will frighten you. Think of the corporate leaders who speak of innovation while gutting their own companies for personal gain. The preacher who promises heaven in exchange for obedience. The demagogue who conjures enemies so you will rally behind him. These are wolves who understood the nature of the flock. They understood that people want certainty more than they want truth, that they crave security more than they crave freedom. Ask yourself, when you hear someone speak in absolutes, do you feel reassured or do you feel suspicious? The sheep clings to absolutes. It seeks the shepherd who promises to lead it, even if that shepherd holds a butcher's knife behind his back. The wolf sees absolutes as a tool, an illusion to be used or shattered as needed. This is what Machiavelli demands of you. Stop swallowing the simple answer. Question it, tear it open, see what it conceals. There is a reason he wrote, "It is necessary for a prince who wishes to maintain his position to learn how not to be good." These words were not an invitation to sadism or cruelty for its own sake. They were an acknowledgement of the world's brutal logic. There are moments when virtue is a liability, when refusing to act decisively or ruthlessly condemns not just yourself but everyone who depends on you. The herd cannot face this. It prefers the fiction that goodness is always rewarded, that the world is fair. But fairness is not a law of nature. It is a human construct, and one that wolves exploit when convenient. Look at the battlefield of history. Julius Caesar did not hesitate to cross the Rubicon when the Senate betrayed him. He understood that hesitation would lead to death. Cicero, on the other hand, brilliant, eloquent, principled, hesitated, and lost his head. This is not an argument against ethics. It is an argument for understanding when ethics become camouflage for cowardice. Machiavelli saw that the truly powerful man does not abandon morality, but uses it as one tool among many. He is not its slave. You want to stop being a sheep, then you must stop waiting for permission. Sheep ask, is it allowed? Wolves ask, is it possible? Sheep wait for leaders to guide them. Wolves create their own path. This distinction is not philosophical fluff. It is the line between those who shape the world and those who are shaped by it. Consider the corporate climber, who avoids difficult truths in meetings to maintain harmony while his rival speaks plainly and earns grudging respect. Or the citizen who swallows slogans without questioning their cost while the critical mind searches for trade-offs and unintended consequences. The first remains safe until the system collapses under the weight of its own lies. The second is dangerous to the system precisely because he sees it clearly. Power is rarely seized by those who believe in comforting illusions. But let us be clear. Machiavelli did not celebrate cruelty for its own sake. He celebrated clarity. He demanded that you understand the game you are playing before you complain about its rules. He demanded that you see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. And above all, he demanded that you see yourself without delusion, because nothing is more dangerous than the lie you tell yourself about your own motives. The sheep lies to itself every day, that its submission is virtue, that its fear is prudence, that its conformity is wisdom. The wolf knows exactly what it is. So ask yourself now, in your work, in your relationships, in your society, are you thinking like a sheep? Are you accepting what you're told because it is easy? Or are you examining it, testing it, willing to discard it if it fails? Are you prepared to see others clearly, not through the haze of your hopes, but through the cold light of their actions? Are you prepared to see yourself just as clearly? This is the first demand Machiavelli makes of you. Kill the sheep in you. Silence the bleating that begs for comfort, for certainty, for safety. See the world as it is. See yourself as you are. Only then can you begin to act with intention. Only then can you even hope to be free. Most people recoil at this demand. They hear "kill the sheep in you" and imagine it means becoming cruel, heartless, inhuman. But this is another illusion designed to keep you docile. You've been taught to equate gentleness with goodness, to see aggression as evil, to believe that wanting power is corrupt. Yet look carefully at the world around you. Who truly benefits from these beliefs? Not the weak, not the obedient, but those who understand that morality can be weaponized to keep others in line while they themselves operate without restraint. Machiavelli would tell you plainly, power is neither good nor evil. It is a force. It obeys its own logic. Just as fire can warm a home or burn it to ash, power can protect or destroy. The question is not whether power is moral, but whether you have the strength and clarity to wield it wisely. Sheep refuse to learn this. They claim moral purity by refusing responsibility, content to let others make decisions for them, and then they bleat in outrage when those decisions lead to ruin. Consider the Dunning-Kruger effect. Those least competent often overestimate their ability, while the truly knowledgeable doubt themselves. This is not simply a psychological curiosity, it is a political weapon. The incompetent shout loudly, making promises they can't keep, and the masses follow them because the masses crave certainty. Meanwhile, the genuinely capable hesitate, question, and often withdraw from the contest altogether. The result? Societies led by charlatans who master performance, who know that the appearance of competence matters more than its reality. Machiavelli understood that appearances are everything. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He did not say this to depress you. He said it so you would wake up. If you want to rise, you must master the art of appearances. Not because it is noble, because it is necessary. The wolf knows this. He shapes his image deliberately, aware of the game. The sheep calls this deceit and refuses to play, then wonders why it is led to slaughter. Let's bring this to the modern world. Look at politics. Do you really believe the most intelligent, ethical, thoughtful candidates win? Or do they often fall to those who simplify, who speak in absolutes, who manufacture enemies to unite their followers? They promise safety from imagined threats, clarity in complex times, and people follow, not because they are stupid, but because they are afraid. The promise of certainty is intoxicating. Consider the corporate world. The CEO who commands loyalty isn't always the most knowledgeable about the company's workings. He is the one who projects vision, certainty, confidence. Investors don't reward accuracy. They reward the story they want to believe. Employees don't rally behind hesitance. They want clear direction, even if it's wrong. The wolf understands this psychology and uses it. The sheep resents it but cannot resist it. This is not an argument for cynicism. It is an argument for clear-eyed realism. Machiavelli was not telling you to become a monster. He was telling you to stop being prey. He saw that moral paralysis is just as dangerous as moral corruption. That those who refuse to play the game will always be ruled by those who do. And he demanded you make a choice. Will you see the world as it is, or will you be ruled by comforting lies? Look at yourself honestly. When was the last time you spoke an uncomfortable truth because it needed to be said? When was the last time you resisted the urge to stay silent to avoid conflict? When was the last time you challenged a simple answer that felt good but didn't hold up to scrutiny? The sheep in you will whisper, "Be quiet. Don't rock the boat. Don't make enemies." The wolf in you will say, "What is true? What is necessary?" Ask yourself, when you hear political slogans, do you question who benefits? When you see an enemy manufactured for your outrage, do you pause to ask why? When someone offers you easy certainty, do you inspect it for hidden costs? The sheep accepts, the wolf investigates. Machiavelli wrote, "The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. This is not contempt for humanity, it is recognition of its vulnerabilities. You cannot change human nature, but you can choose to understand it. And by understanding it, you gain freedom. You gain power over yourself first, and then over the world around you. It is tempting to dismiss this as dark, pessimistic, but consider the alternative. Remain blind, remain obedient, remain comfortable until the world changes around you and you are unprepared to act. Is that morality, or is it cowardice dressed in virtue's clothing? This is why you must kill the sheep in you. Because the world is not gentle. It is complex, competitive, and often cruel. Pretending otherwise does not protect you. It exposes you. It makes you vulnerable to those willing to use your illusions against you. The wolf is not cruel for cruelty's sake. He is honest about the nature of the hunt. He accepts responsibility for his survival, for his choices, for his consequences. To be a wolf in Machiavelli's sense is not to revel in domination, but to master yourself first. To understand your fears, your temptations, your weaknesses, and to refuse to let them rule you. It is to act with intention rather than reflex, to speak with purpose rather than to please, to choose your battles rather than avoid them all, to see others clearly without hatred, without naive hope, but with the cold light of understanding. And in this understanding, there is a paradoxical kind of morality. Because when you see the world clearly, you see the cost of your choices. You see the damage that cowardice can do. You see that refusing responsibility does not absolve you of consequences. It merely surrenders them to others, who may care less than you do. The sheep says, "I am good because I am harmless." The wolf says, "I will do what is necessary, so that what I value survives." Do you feel uncomfortable yet? Good. Discomfort is the first crack in the prison wall. It means you are paying attention. The sheep in you hates discomfort. It flees from it, seeks numbness, calls it negativity to avoid confronting what it cannot bear to see. But Machiavelli knew that discomfort is the teacher of the wise. It burns away illusion. It forces the mind to ask, what is real? What is necessary? What will I do about it? Most people never get that far. They do not want to know. They want to be told. They want certainty without responsibility. This is why the wolf will always have an advantage. He knows people's need for comfort is the very lever by which they can be moved. He knows that fear makes them pliable. He knows that offering simple answers wins loyalty far more effectively than offering truth. And he does not apologize for understanding this. He uses it. Look around you. Think about the messages you receive every day. Political slogans crafted to be easy to remember, but impossible to question. Advertising campaigns designed to make you feel inadequate unless you buy. Media outrage cycles engineered to keep you afraid and angry and distracted. These are not accidents. These are strategies. Machiavelli would tell you, if you want to be free, you must learn to see them for what they are. He did not say this to depress you. He said it to empower you. Because the first act of freedom is recognition. You cannot change a system you refuse to see. You cannot change yourself if you lie about your own motives. The sheep in you is the part that insists you are too good, too moral, too principled to see the world as it is. It calls realism cynicism. It calls honesty cruelty. It recoils from complexity because complexity demands thought, responsibility, choice. But the wolf in you, if you let it speak, will not be so easily comforted. It will demand you look at your own cowardice, your own evasions, your own laziness. It will demand you see how often you choose silence over truth, conformity over integrity, pleasure over purpose. It will demand you see that you have been trained to want these things, that you have been rewarded for wanting them, and it will demand you decide whether you will continue. Machiavelli understood that human nature is not evil, but it is predictable. We are drawn to strong leaders because they promise certainty in a world of chaos. We believe what flatters us. We obey what frightens us. We follow those who offer enemies to blame. None of this is new. It is ancient. It is the same in republics and monarchies, in corporations and families. The dynamics do not change because the minds of men do not change. If you want to rise above this, you must first see it, not just in others, in yourself. When you feel the urge to dismiss an opponent as evil rather than understand them, that is the sheep in you, seeking the comfort of moral superiority without the work of understanding. When you believe a promise that seems too good to be true because you want it to be true, that is the sheep in you, handing over your reason in exchange for a pleasant dream. Machiavelli's demand was simple, but not easy. See people as they are. See yourself as you are. Then act, not react, not hope, not wish. Act. This is the wolf's mindset. It does not deny morality, it refines it. It asks, what do my values cost? Am I willing to pay? It does not hide from harsh truths. It uses them as tools. It does not cry that life is unfair. It asks how to navigate that unfairness to achieve what matters. Think of the leader who wants to do good but refuses to fight dirty when the situation demands it and loses to the one who will. Is that virtue or betrayal of those he promised to protect? Think of the employee who knows the company is failing but stays silent in meetings to avoid conflict. Is that politeness or cowardice that dooms everyone's job? These are not hypothetical questions. These are the choices that shape the world. The sheep will always choose safety over truth. It will trade freedom for security. It will silence itself to avoid standing out. It will tell itself that morality demands passivity, that goodness means never fighting, that wisdom is submission. But the world is not designed for the sheep's comfort. It is designed to test the worth of those who would lead, who would build, who would defend what matters. You must decide which you are. No one will decide for you. Machiavelli said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking." He did not mean you must become a monster. He meant you must understand which emotion people respect, which emotion keeps them honest, which emotion protects you when love turns to betrayal. The sheep refuses to think this way. The wolf cannot afford not to. Ask yourself, what do you fear losing so much that you refuse to see the truth? Whose approval do you crave so deeply that you silence your own doubts? What illusions comfort you even as they weaken you? These are the questions the sheep flees from. These are the questions the wolf hunts down and answers. Because in the end, freedom is not given, it is taken. Power is not granted, it is seized. Respect is not owed, it is earned. The sheep in you will tell you that these are harsh, cruel ideas. The wolf will see them as reality's terms and accept them. You might think this sounds bleak, even ruthless. That's because you've been trained to recoil from power instead of understanding it. Power itself is neither good nor evil. It is the means by which intentions become reality. The sheep wants to believe power corrupts simply by existing, so it can excuse its refusal to seek it. But Machiavelli would say that power merely reveals. It shows you who you really are, what you truly value, and what price you're willing to pay. The sheep pretends to be above this reckoning. It tells itself it is virtuous for refusing power. It says, I don't want to play the game. But refusing to play does not stop the game. It only guarantees you lose. It means you will be governed by those who do not share your scruples, who understand that pretending the game doesn't exist is the surest way to be manipulated by it. Look at history. Look at your own society. How often do you see the people with the best ideas, the deepest understanding, the most thoughtful plans sidelined because they lack the will to fight, because they refuse to market themselves, to project certainty, to claim credit? Meanwhile, those with less substance but more confidence win the crowd, get the promotion, set the agenda. This is not an accident. It is the consequence of the sheep's refusal to compete. Machiavelli warned against this moral laziness. He argued that a ruler must be prepared to do what is necessary, even when it is unpleasant, even when it is condemned. He did not say you must be cruel without purpose. He said you must not be afraid to be seen as cruel when survival or success demands it. The sheep fears appearances more than consequences. The wolf understands that consequences are all that matter. Consider the concept of reputation. Reputation is not truth, it is perception. You can be good and be hated. You can be evil and be loved. Machiavelli understood that managing perception is an essential part of power. The sheep calls this manipulation and refuses to do it. The wolf calls it strategy and masters it. The question is not whether you will shape perceptions, but whether you will let others shape them for you. This is not an argument for deception as your only tool. It is a recognition that refusing to think about appearances is self-sabotage. The sheep believes if it simply tells the truth, people will listen. But people do not judge the world with perfect rationality. They respond to confidence, certainty, charisma, symbolism. The wolf learns to communicate with these tools, not because truth doesn't matter, but because truth must be delivered in a form people can receive. Ask yourself, Have you ever watched someone less capable rise above you because they understood this? Because they weren't afraid to promote themselves, to package their ideas, to claim victories? Did you tell yourself it was unfair, or did you learn from it? The sheep complains about unfairness and waits for the world to change. The wolf studies the game and adapts. Machiavelli demanded that you see the world without illusions. Not so you could become a tyrant, but so you could avoid being a victim. He believed that to govern others, you must first govern yourself. And self-governance begins with honesty about your own motives and fears. The sheep says, "I am good because I am harmless." The wolf asks, "Am I truly good or merely weak?" There is nothing noble in refusing to act when action is required. There is nothing virtuous in surrendering decisions to others because you fear responsibility. The world will not reward your humility if that humility is simply cowardice in disguise. It will exploit it. It will consume you. Machiavelli's philosophy is not about celebrating cruelty. It is about forcing you to choose awareness over ignorance, responsibility over comfort. Consider leadership. We often say we want ethical, wise, careful leaders, but we reward those who promise certainty, who project absolute confidence, who manufacture enemies to rally us, because we are drawn to those who make us feel safe, even if it's an illusion. The wolf understands this and uses it. The sheep denies it and pays the price. Think about the structures you live within: organizations, governments, families. Do they reward honesty or loyalty? Do they punish competence because it threatens the incompetent? Machiavelli observed that weak rulers surround themselves with even weaker advisors, creating systems that rot from the inside out. The sheep tolerates this. It says, "That's just the way things are." The wolf asks, "How do I change it or escape it?" Ask yourself now, where in your life have you chosen silence when you should have spoken? Where have you accepted a lie because it was easier than confronting it? Where have you obeyed out of fear of standing alone? These are the marks of the sheep. These are the habits you must kill. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold. But boldness is not recklessness. It is calculated risk. It is understanding that waiting for the perfect moment is often an excuse for cowardice. That hesitation can be fatal, that your enemies will not wait for your readiness. The wolf knows there is no perfect safety, only relative advantage. He acts decisively when opportunity appears because he knows it may not come again. This is not easy work. It is not comforting. It demands that you examine yourself without pity, that you acknowledge where you have failed to take responsibility, that you see where you have traded freedom for the illusion of security. It demands that you make a choice. Will you remain as you are, or will you transform? Because to kill the sheep in you is not to become inhuman. It is to become fully human. To claim the birthright of your reason, your will, your agency, to stop waiting to be saved, to recognize that no one is coming to rescue you, that the world will not become fair simply because you want it to be, that if you want something different, you must build it through clarity, courage, and relentless honesty. You may wonder why this transformation is so rare, why so many remain sheep despite seeing the cost of their submission. The answer is simple. It is easier. It is easier to obey than to think, easier to follow than to lead, easier to blame others than to take responsibility for your own failures. The sheep within you whispers comforting lies. It says, "You did your best." It says, "It's not your fault." It says, "There was nothing you could do." And you believe it because it lets you sleep at night. Machiavelli would not let you sleep. He would shake you awake. He would say, "Stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending you are helpless. Look at the choices you made. Look at the risks you refused to take. Look at the truths you refused to speak." He would force you to see that your life is the sum of your decisions and your indecisions. That power avoided is still power exercised, handed to someone else who may use it against you. The sheep loves to pretend that morality means passivity, that being good means never resisting, never challenging, never making demands. But what good is morality if it refuses to act? What good is virtue if it refuses to fight for what it claims to value? The world is not saved by those who dream of justice but do nothing. It is shaped by those willing to make hard choices, to take risks, to bear responsibility for consequences. Look around you. How many systems reward mediocrity? How many leaders maintain power by surrounding themselves with the compliant, the uncritical, the dependent? This is not conspiracy. It is human nature unchecked. It is the default state of any organization that lacks accountability. Machiavelli saw it in courts and city-states. You see it in corporations, bureaucracies, even families. Weak leaders fear the competent, so they build nests of incompetence around them, insulating themselves from challenge, dooming the whole structure to eventual collapse. And the sheep allow it. They say, "It's not my place to question." They say, "Better not to make waves." They say, "It's safer this way." But safety is an illusion. When you refuse to question, you become complicit in the lie. When you refuse to challenge, you participate in the decline. Your silence is not neutral, it is an endorsement. Machiavelli's demand is that you see this clearly. He forces you to confront the cost of your so-called virtue, if it is merely cowardice in disguise. He tells you that if you want to do good in the world, you must first become strong enough to resist it being shaped by those who do not care about good at all. Strength is not an optional accessory to virtue, it is its shield and sword. Ask yourself, what have you failed to protect because you feared conflict? What truths have you buried because they were inconvenient? What damage has your silence permitted? These are not abstract questions. They are the measure of your real morality. The sheep avoids these questions. The wolf hunts them down and answers them without flinching. Machiavelli knew that effective action requires clarity. That clarity is often painful. It means seeing people as they are, not as you wish them to be. It means understanding that loyalty can be bought, that friendship can be conditional, that promises are tools. This does not mean you must become cynical or cruel. It means you must become discerning. The wolf does not hate the sheep. He simply refuses to be one. You see this dynamic everywhere if you have the eyes to see it. In politics, leaders simplify complex problems to win votes. They offer easy scapegoats. They declare certainty where there is none, because the public rewards these lies with loyalty. In business, managers who hide problems to maintain harmony sabotage long-term success. Employees who speak uncomfortable truths are punished. Teams value agreement over accuracy. The result? Failure disguised as success until it can no longer be hidden. This is not a flaw in human nature. It is human nature. And Machiavelli's genius was in refusing to moralize about it. He simply described it. He forced you to see it, so you could navigate it, so you could protect yourself, so you could shape it rather than be shaped by it. Do you want to lead? Then stop complaining that people want to be lied to. Learn how to speak truth in a form they can accept. Learn how to build trust before you demand sacrifice. Learn how to project confidence without promising certainty you cannot deliver. These are not betrayals of virtue. They are its requirements. Because without them, your good intentions will be buried under the noise of simpler, more seductive lies. You cannot save people who refuse to think, but you can refuse to join them. You can refuse to lie to yourself. You can choose to see complexity where others demand simplicity. You can ask hard questions where others want easy answers. You can act where others freeze. This is the wolf's path. It is not the easy path, but it is the only one that offers freedom. Machiavelli did not celebrate tyranny. He explained it so you would recognize it, so you would understand why the incompetent rise, why the corrupt hold power, why the loudest voice in the room wins. He showed you the enemy's playbook, not so you would become them, but so you would stop being their victim. He demanded you grow teeth. He demanded you stop waiting for a better world and start preparing to build it. Because in the end, morality without power is a wish. It is a dream the powerful will use to control you. It is the fleece you wrap around yourself while the wolves close in. If you want that dream to become real, you must first survive. You must first win. You must first learn to see the world as it is. Machiavelli did not write for the comfortable. He wrote for those willing to bear the weight of power. He wrote for those who wanted to rule themselves before they tried to rule anyone else. And that is where the work begins, not with others, but with yourself. You cannot lead if you cannot command yourself. You cannot impose order on the world if you cannot impose it on your own impulses. The sheep is ruled by fear, by comfort, by instinct. It reacts. It seeks the path of least resistance. It justifies this as virtue, calls its cowardice humility. The wolf is different, not because it is cruel, but because it is deliberate. It does not react without thinking. It does not speak without purpose. It does not act without considering the consequence. Machiavelli understood that self-mastery is the foundation of all power. The prince who cannot govern his own desires will be ruled by flatterers. The commander who cannot control his own fear will lose the loyalty of his men. The statesman who cannot resist the need to be loved will compromise with enemies who will never be satisfied. To kill the sheep in you is to kill this weakness, to remove the excuses you make for surrendering your judgment. Ask yourself, what controls you? Is it fear of conflict? Fear of failure? The desire to be liked? The comfort of routine? These are the chains that bind you. The world does not need another slave to habit. It does not need another mouth repeating slogans. It needs those willing to examine themselves so they can act with intention. It needs those willing to suffer the loneliness of standing apart. Because make no mistake, this is a lonely path. The herd will resent you for it. They will call you arrogant for daring to question what they accept. They will call you cruel for telling truths they refuse to face. They will say you have no compassion because you refuse to lie to make them feel better. Machiavelli would say, let them. The measure of your worth is not their approval. It is the effectiveness of your actions and the integrity of your mind. Integrity, in this sense, is not moral purity. It is internal coherence. It is knowing what you believe and acting accordingly. It is refusing to be divided against yourself by fear or by convenience. It is accepting the cost of your values instead of expecting the world to subsidize them. The sheep expects praise for its goodness while doing nothing to defend it. The wolf knows that if you claim to value something, you must be willing to fight for it. Look at your own life. Where have you compromised what you knew was right because it was easier? Where have you gone along to get along? Where have you silenced yourself to avoid offending? These are the places where the sheep in you lives. These are the places that must be confronted if you want to be free. Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But he did not say you must be cruel for its own sake. He meant that fear is reliable in a way love is not. Love is conditional. It depends on continued satisfaction. It can be bought, traded, lost. Fear is simpler. It clarifies boundaries. It prevents betrayal. It does not make you popular, but it can keep you safe. Consider what that means for you. It means you cannot be afraid to be disliked. You cannot be afraid to say no. You cannot be afraid to enforce limits. The sheep fears rejection and will accept any terms to avoid it. The wolf knows that acceptance bought at the cost of self-respect is worthless, that alliances based on appeasement are fragile, that real loyalty is earned through strength and consistency. This is why Machiavelli did not write moral instruction. He wrote strategy. He did not tell you how the world should be. He told you how it is, so you could navigate it, so you could survive it, so you could shape it. The world will not reward your ideals if you cannot defend them. It will not bend to your hopes if you cannot make them real. It will not protect you because you think you deserve it. Ask yourself now, what do you want? Not what you say you want to impress others. What do you truly want? Security, freedom, respect, power, purpose, happiness. Understand that these are not gifts, they are prizes, they are won, and they are kept only by those willing to do what is necessary to hold them. You cannot control the world if you cannot control yourself. You cannot demand truth from others if you lie to yourself. You cannot resist manipulation if you do not understand how it works. The sheep waits to be led. It waits to be saved. The wolf prepares to lead himself, to save himself, to act without waiting for permission. This is the work. It is not glamorous. It will not earn applause. It will not make you popular. It will make you dangerous. Dangerous to lies. Dangerous to manipulation. Dangerous to systems that depend on your obedience. It will also make you responsible for what you see, for what you know, for what you choose to do. Because once you see clearly, you lose the luxury of ignorance. You can no longer pretend you didn't know. You can no longer blame others for choices you refuse to make. This is the burden of the wolf, and it is also its freedom. Because while the sheep is herded wherever the shepherd decides, the wolf charts its own course, even if that means walking alone. Killing the sheep in you is not a single act. It is a lifelong discipline. It is vigilance. It is refusal to lapse back into comforting lies. Because the world will never stop trying to put you back in the pen. Every institution you enter will pressure you to conform. Every crowd you join will punish you for standing apart. Every relationship will test your boundaries. and every moment of fear or weakness will tempt you to surrender your judgment for the ease of obedience. Machiavelli knew this. He saw that even the strongest rulers could be undone, not by enemies without, but by weakness within. He saw that empires rotted from complacency, that men who had conquered the world lost it when they stopped questioning, stopped adapting, stopped suspecting their own comforts. This is not a warning just for kings, it is for anyone who would hold power over themselves. The sheep believes vigilance is paranoia. It believes distrust is cynicism. It says, just relax, just go along, don't overthink it. The wolf knows that inattention is vulnerability, that trust must be earned and re-evaluated, that relaxing your guard does not make you good, it makes you easy to use. Look at the systems you live in, look at how they are designed. Is it to make you think more deeply or less? Is it to make you question or to make you obey? The modern world is not free of Machiavellian dynamics, it has perfected them. Advertising sells you comfort while robbing you of independence. Media sells you outrage while distracting you from analysis. Politics sells you identity while harvesting your loyalty. Social media sells you connection while monetizing your every weakness for validation. Machiavelli would not tell you to reject these systems entirely. He would tell you to see them, to understand how they work, to ask who benefits, who controls the narrative, who profits from my outrage, my fear, my conformity. He would tell you that once you see the levers being pulled, you can no longer be controlled by them in the same way. But this awareness is not enough. You must act. Knowledge without action is impotence. Understanding the game without playing it wisely is pointless. The wolf does not simply see the world clearly. He navigates it skillfully. He chooses his alliances carefully. He picks his battles deliberately. He knows when to speak and when to be silent, when to strike and when to wait. This is not cruelty. It is competence. Competence is not rewarded automatically. It must be demanded. It must be demonstrated. It must be defended. Look at your workplace. How often does real talent go unrecognized because it refuses to advocate for itself? How often do the loudest, most confident people win resources and influence even when they are wrong? The sheep calls this unfair. The wolf calls it reality and prepares accordingly. Machiavelli never promised you fairness. He offered you strategy. He said, if you want to change the world, you must first understand it. If you want to hold power, you must accept its burdens. If you want to lead, you must be willing to be hated. Because people will hate you for seeing clearly what they wish to ignore. They will hate you for refusing to lie to them. They will hate you for refusing to lie to yourself. You must be strong enough to bear that. To endure being called arrogant, cruel, unfeeling, simply because you refuse to be weak. Because you refuse to reassure people when they should be challenged. Because you refuse to say everything will be fine when you know it will not be fine without sacrifice, without risk, without hard decisions. This is not license for sadism. It is a demand for honesty. Machiavelli would not admire cruelty for its own sake. He would despise wasteful violence, self-indulgent tyranny, sloppy rule. He demanded precision. He demanded awareness of consequences. He demanded that every hard choice be made with eyes open, knowing its cost, and accepting that cost when necessary. Ask yourself, when have you avoided conflict you should have embraced? When have you softened truth to avoid hurting feelings? When have you lied, not to protect others, but to protect yourself from discomfort? These moments are the roots of weakness. They grow into habits. Habits become character, and character shapes destiny. To kill the sheep in you is to uproot these habits one by one. It is to ask yourself daily, am I acting from fear or from purpose? Am I choosing silence because it is wise or because it is safe? Am I making myself small to be liked? Am I trading truth for approval? This is work. It is relentless, it is unending, but it is the only path to freedom. Because the world will not reward you for being honest. It will not reward you for being strong. It will reward you for being useful, obedient, predictable. It will reward you for maintaining the lie. It will reward you for staying asleep. If you want something different, you must choose it, you must build it, you must defend it. Machiavelli wrote, not to teach you to dominate others mindlessly, but to ensure you would not be dominated blindly. Not to make you cruel for pleasure, but to make you capable of cruelty when justice required it. Not to make you paranoid without cause, but to ensure you would never be betrayed through naivety. His demand was not that you abandon morality, but that you fortify it with clarity and strength. So understand this: no one will save you. No one will hand you power. No one will applaud your refusal to obey. The sheep will resent you for it. The shepherd will fear you for it. But you will be free. And with that freedom comes the terrifying, exhilarating responsibility to shape your own fate. What will you do with what you see? Because it is not enough to recognize the sheep in you. You must kill it. You must decide, daily, to refuse its comforts. Because those comforts are traps, bait laid out by those who benefit from your submission. Machiavelli would tell you that the world is full of rulers and ruled, and that distinction begins in the mind long before it appears in reality. Ask yourself, what rules you? Habit, fear, approval, convenience. The sheep obeys these masters without question. It builds a life around avoiding conflict, avoiding failure, avoiding judgment. It calls this peace, but it is not peace, it is surrender. It is a life handed over to the will of others, because you would not claim it for yourself. Look at how power actually operates. It is rarely announced. It does not need to. True power is silent, subtle, embedded in expectations, in norms, in unspoken threats. It is the boss who never raises his voice but whose displeasure is enough to control you. It is the friend who manipulates your loyalty by questioning your commitment. It is the partner who demands your silence in exchange for affection. These dynamics flourish in the space where the sheep refuses to question. Machiavelli would have you question everything. He would have you test every alliance, every promise, every emotion. Not to destroy trust for its own sake, but to ensure that when you give it with eyes open. Because trust without testing is naivety. Loyalty without reason is slavery. Love without discernment is weakness waiting to be exploited. The sheep believes suspicion is cruelty. The wolf knows it is necessary. The world is full of those who will use your better nature against you, who will praise your gentleness while taking advantage of it, who will reward your silence while planning their betrayal. This is not cynicism, this is observation. Look around you. How many have lost everything because they refused to see what was in front of them? This is why Machiavelli demands you understand human nature, not to hate it, but to see it. He tells you that people are motivated by interest, by fear, by desire, that they will appear loyal while it serves them and leave you when it does not. This does not mean you must become heartless. It means you must become aware. Awareness is not cruelty. It is the beginning of strategy. Consider how this applies to your daily life. At work, do you take people at their word without verifying their actions? Do you avoid asking hard questions because you don't want to seem difficult? Do you pretend not to see incompetence because it is easier to maintain harmony? Every time you do this, you feed the sheep in you. Every time you choose ease over clarity, you participate in your own subjugation. The wolf refuses this. The wolf knows that harmony built on lies is fragile, that comfort purchased with silence is dangerous, that the price of refusing conflict now is greater conflict later. The wolf is willing to endure discomfort today to prevent disaster tomorrow. This is not cruelty, it is foresight. Machiavelli did not teach you to manipulate others for fun. He taught you to survive among those who will manipulate you if you let them. He did not say you must always deceive, but that you must understand deception. He did not say you must always use force, but that you must understand when force is necessary. He did not say you must abandon morality, but that morality without power is worthless. Ask yourself now, what principles do you claim to hold? What are you willing to sacrifice for them? What are you willing to risk? The sheep loves to proclaim its values, but collapses the moment those values cost something. The wolf knows that values without sacrifice are meaningless. That virtue is proven in struggle, not in comfort. Look at history. Look at those who built lasting change. They were not the ones who sought approval. They were the ones who accepted being hated, who understood that real leadership requires confrontation, that people will resist, will attack, will betray, that you must be strong enough to endure it, that you must be cunning enough to anticipate it. Machiavelli would tell you that to change anything, you must first accept that you will be blamed for changing it. That to make hard choices, you must accept the hatred of those who preferred easy lies. That to speak truth, you must accept the scorn of those addicted to comforting fictions. This is the price. This is the burden. But he would also tell you this. Once you accept it, you become free. Free from needing approval. Free from fearing conflict. Free from being manipulated by praise or blame. Because you will see them for what they are. Tools. Tools you can choose to use or ignore, but which will never again control you. And so the work is this. Kill the sheep in you every day. Question your motives. Examine your fears. Challenge your assumptions. Speak when silence is complicity. Act when waiting is surrender. Refuse to be led by those who have not earned your trust. Refuse to obey for the sake of peace. Refuse to live small so others can feel big. This is not an easy life. It is not a comfortable life. It is not a life that will make you universally loved, but it is the only life that is truly yours. Machiavelli demands nothing less. Not that you dominate for domination's sake, but that you refuse to be dominated by your own cowardice. That you claim your freedom, not as a gift, but as a prize you have earned through vigilance, through clarity, through unflinching self-honesty. If you understand everything so far, then you see the final truth Machiavelli offers, that freedom, power, and integrity are not destinations but practices. They are not medals pinned to your chest by a grateful world. They are disciplines you impose on yourself because no one else will, because the world prefers you docile, because those in power want you predictable, because even your friends and family may encourage the sheep in you to make you easier to accept, easier to love, easier to control. You must decide if you will accept that fate, if you will be what they want you to be, quiet, agreeable, harmless, safe, or if you will choose instead to live with your eyes open, knowing it means seeing things you might rather ignore, knowing it means carrying burdens you might rather lay down, knowing it means you will be feared before you are loved and hated before you are respected. Machiavelli would tell you that this is not cruelty, it is responsibility, because when you see the world clearly, you lose the luxury of pretending you have no power. You see your influence in every silence that lets a lie stand, in every nod that rewards mediocrity, in every time you look away from corruption because challenging it is uncomfortable. You see that your complicity is not neutral, that your comfort is not innocent. And so you are faced with a choice, not once, but every day. Do you speak the truth knowing it will cost you? Do you act decisively knowing it will make you a target? Do you enforce standards knowing you will be resented? The sheep in you will scream no. It will beg you to be quiet, to get along, to be liked. It will tell you that this is virtue, that compromise is wisdom, that silence is maturity. But the wolf in you knows better. It knows that real wisdom is distinguishing what can be compromised from what cannot. That real maturity is accepting the cost of honesty. That real virtue is choosing action over cowardice, even when no one thanks you for it. It knows that in the end you are measured not by your intentions but by your results, not by your promises but by your follow-through, not by your hopes but by your will. Look at the world and see how many problems persist because good people refused to confront them, because the competent stayed silent while the incompetent shouted, because the thoughtful held back while the reckless charged forward, because the honest tried too hard to be liked while the liars had no such need. This is the real tragedy of the sheep. Not that it is weak, but that it makes the entire flock vulnerable to wolves without consciences, that it clears the field for the worst among us. Machiavelli did not ask you to become that kind of wolf. He asked you to understand them, to study them, to see how they rise, how they hold power, how they manipulate, not so you could emulate their cruelty, but so you could resist it, so you could protect yourself, so you could lead differently, effectively, without illusions, without excuses. Because what is leadership if it cannot protect what matters? What is virtue if it will not fight? What is love if it will not sacrifice? These are the questions you must ask yourself if you are to kill the sheep in you, because the sheep will not ask them. It will assume that wanting the good is enough, that meaning well is enough, that refusing to see ugliness is the same as defeating it. The wolf knows better. It knows the world does not bend to good intentions. It yields only to force, to clarity, to will. So now I ask you, what do you want? Not what sounds noble, not what others want to hear. What do you actually want? Are you prepared to pay for it? Are you prepared to defend it? Are you prepared to be hated for it? Are you prepared to give up the comfort of belonging for the discomfort of truth? If you are not, then you will remain where you are, safe, approved of, powerless, waiting for someone else to save you. And when that salvation never comes, you will tell yourself that it was impossible, that no one could have done anything, that you are innocent. But innocence is cheap when it costs you nothing, and it is worthless when it saves no one. Machiavelli would tell you that you can do better, that you must do better, that if you see the world clearly, you owe it to yourself and to those you care about to act on what you see, to stop waiting for permission, to stop hoping for rescue, to stop apologizing for wanting to win. Because winning matters when the stakes are survival, when the stakes are freedom, when the stakes are the kind of world you leave behind. Kill the sheep in you, not because the wolf is better, but because the wolf is awake, because the wolf is responsible, because the wolf knows that power unused is power surrendered, that truth unspoken is a lie allowed to spread, that action avoided is permission granted to those who would rule you without conscience. If you want to be free, you must choose it, you must claim it, you must defend it, every day, especially when it is hard, especially when you are afraid, especially when you are alone, because no one will give it to you, no one can. It is yours to take, yours to hold, yours to wield wisely, and if you will not, someone else will. So decide, now, today, and tomorrow, and every day after. Decide to see, decide to speak, decide to act, decide to lead, decide to be free. If you've stayed with me this long, it means some part of you already knows this path is yours to walk. It means you felt the pull to break away from the easy, the safe, the expected. You understand that respect means nothing if you have to betray yourself to get it, and that real power begins the moment you choose your truth, even if it means standing alone. Tell me in the comments, are you prepared to be questioned, doubted, even rejected for the crime of being fully yourself? Are you willing to pay the price of your own freedom? If these words spoke to you, if they struck something real, write in the comments, I choose the wolf. Let's see how many here are ready to cross that line and never go back. And whatever you do, don't stop here. Watch the next video. It matters more than you think. See you there.